Okay, hello, good afternoon. I hope you're well. Today we begin with the series of interviews with the writers of the December 2023 edition of aviNews International Magazine. Today we will start with Dr. Edgar Oviedo. How are you, Dr. Edgar? Welcome to aviNews International.
Hi, David. How are you doing? Thank you for the invitation.
Good, thank you. Well, I must say that you're the first to be interviewed, so if you don't mind, I will introduce you briefly for those who don't know you yet.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay. Dr. Edgar
So,
Oviedo earned his DMV from University of Tolima in Colombia, his master's degree from the University Estadual de Maringa in Brazil. He has a PhD from the University of Arkansas and an MBA from North Carolina State University. Dr. Oviedo is an active member of the American College of Poultry Veterinarians, and his expertise includes poultry nutrition, feeding, health and management, among others. He currently works at Prestige Department Poultry Science in North Carolina State University in USA. First of all, it's a pleasure to have you here. Thank you very much for your predisposition and for sharing your vision of this article with all our people. So I would like to start with a series of questions about your article. The first of which is why is sustainability a trend in the poultry industry?
yes, David. Well, sustainability is really gaining attention in the poultry industry. And it's basically because all aspects of life it may impact the environment, and this is causing concerns in the society. All these days, I mean, nowadays we all care about the environment, and now the society is conscious that resources are limited, and many technologies that we use now cannot be used in the future because resources like water and land are already scarce. We know that many technologies cause pollution, and the environment will not hold for that type of production for a long time. Then governments and the society are making pressure on determining what is the impact of production systems of the products and the technologies that we have currently. And it became important to evaluate all the aspects of poultry production and presenting this data to the governments and also to the financial system that support the consumers in those concerns related to the environment. Also, there are international organizations that have created some systems where require that the producers comply with assessments of their production, and also develop methodologies to minimize their current environmental impact.
Okay, doctor, thank you very much for your answer. I would like to continue with the second question. The second question is, what is life cycle assessment exactly?
Yeah, well, one of the ways to measure sustainability is evaluating or doing what is called a life cycle analysis. This is an analytical evaluation or assessment of the environmental burdens of products or service over their life cycle. So that means to compile all the inputs and outputs that could be related with materials and energy from the life cycle phases that includes a whole system. So then from going from the production for the beginning of the production to the disposal of the product. That also is called the cradle to grave life cycle assessment. That includes analyzing the entire process from the resource extraction to manufacturing, consumption, and as I mentioned, the disposal of or end of the life of the product or service. And this means in the case of poultry, going from the feed staff production, so from the plantation or the production of the feed additives to the meat and eggs, and including even the disposal of mortality, litter, offal, and even other byproducts. This methodology of life cycle assessment is already described in some international standard norms like the 14040 or 14044 that describes in detail all the process that needs to be followed.
Okay, thank you. In your article, you said that life cycle assessment can be combined with economic analysis, such as life cycle costing, to obtain both environmental and economic sustainability. How does that work?
Yes, well, one of the objectives of an LCA or life cycle analysis is to determine the combined effect of impact in the environment and also the impact in the economy of the production system. Then the quantification of these impacts is very important, and in one part we can talk about the uh, cycle of the nutrients, that will be the environmental impact from producing the raw materials to all the way to processing, transformation of those products to create the feed, and also to feed the animals and dispose later the products as we mentioned. But in each step, there are some costs associated with that production. Then the economical impact is a measure through each one of the points, evaluating what will be the economic impact of changing the current system of production. So that means that together with looking at the nutrient transformation in the process, we are also looking at how that changes the economy of production of each step until going to create what is an economic sustainability. So it means if we change the production cycle, how that will change also the cause and impact on the economic parameters.
Okay, thank you very much. Next question. Different life cycle impact assessment methods differ in the various impact indicators, characterization, normalization, and weighing factors. What are the four most used indicators?
Well, yes, and an impact assessment measures the effects of on the environment. It's a way, is actually the mm, method to measure exactly. Then there are many ways to measure that environmental impact of a product or a service. But in general terms, most life cycle assessments evaluation systems include parameters of environmental impact like global warming potential, the GWP, or also well known as carbon footprint. So that's the most well-known parameter that we know in the environment. But there are others that affect, for example, the soil or the water. That is the case, the acidification potential that will affect the most of the soils, and eutrophication potential, that is actually how the phosphorus could affect the waters surrounding the production system. And even the last most common parameters will be the energy consumption or cumulative energy demand, that will be the total energy that was used to produce a product. There are many others like the water demand, the land demand, and many others, but it depends on the product or service. They are not always used.
Okay, doctor. Next question. Could you give us some examples of LCIA methods?
Yes, there are several methods, and some of them report midpoint. There have midpoint indicators. that are related mainly to the one environmental problem, like for example energy consumption or carbon footprint. And there are other methods like the that show the combined relevant environmental impacts into one single result or an endpoint indicator. So then these methodologies are listed in the article. We have like more than a dozen there. But for example, the eco indicator is one of the most commonly used. Also, we have another that are called the environmental priority strategy or the IPCC and the impact 2002. Tracy is another very common method that we have, and recipe. Those methodologies are basically that. It's a protocol of how to evaluate and how to make those calculations for environmental impact.
Okay, thank you very much. Next question. There are several LCA software that helps to make this analysis in the poultry and feed LSA studies. Could you tell us a little more about them?
Yeah, this evaluation has become something so common that many companies have developed software that are already in the market, and they mainly are used as a service. So some corporations have purchased the service and they license their use for to do a service really to their clients, to the poultry industry. And among the most common use, we have five software. One is called Umberto. The other is Opteinix, that is from BSF Animal Nutrition. This product is licensed, for example, by Bonic for to give a service in sustainability. We have DSM, now DSM Firmenich, developed their own software called Sustel. Optainis and Sustel are now a part of a feed formulation software like BexMix, for example. And we also have another tool used by Trao Nutrition called Watson, and we have CIMAPro. Those are kind of the most important sustainability software that we can find nowadays in the market for the feed industry and poultry industry.
Okay, thank you for the acceleration. Dr. Edgar, could you explain more about the concept of reference feed databases?
Yes. In the article, we discuss that to do an LCA, you need to have an inventory database that compile the primary data for the production process. In the case of poultry production, the main contributor will be the feed. Then we need to have feed databases that compile all that information of all the environmental impacts that the different feed ingredients may have. And these databases also include the description of the ingredients in detail. So depending on the origin or the way that it was produced, it may have different environmental impact. There are several feed databases available for this LCA analysis. And in the article, we mention and describe, I think, 5 or 6 of them that are Equalim, AgriBalise, AgriFootprint, the FLLDB, EcoInvent is another, and of course, GFLI. EcoInvent, for example, is probably the one that has more than 13,000 data sets and offers a great number of different ingredients. Is for sure the largest database provider, and is integrated into Umberto LCA. contains unaggregated data that it can help people to dig into the process chain of a product and be able to calculate all the aspects of sustainability.
Okay, thank you. Could you tell us a bit more about GFLI feed database?
Yes, the GFLI database was produced um, with the Global Feed LCA Institute that was launched in November of 2020 during
Okay.
the pandemic, and is starting really a new phase in the way of maintaining and expanding the information about sustainability in feed additives. This database contains global metrics for sustainable feed. That is what is actually the reason that is called GFLI, that stands for Global Metrics for Sustainable Feed, and includes all the parameters of sustainability, absolutely all, for all the ingredients. Is also probably the second largest database that we have, and is the one really used more for Nutreco, CGB Bio, Chemin, DSM, ADM, Cargill, and many other companies and institutes. The GFLI really is publicly available. You can find and obtain the database online and in an Excel spreadsheet. And then you can actually integrate it in an analysis using a software like Recipe 2012, or even using CIMA Pro, and many softwares in feed formulation can use it, that can add that database, or some of the softwares that I mentioned also tend to use it because it's kind of the standard for many feed additive and feed ingredient companies.
Okay, great. And finally, could you give us your conclusion about the importance of sustainability in poultry farming?
Well, sustainability is an aspect that will continue to grow in all the industries and also in poultry. And with this article, what we want to offer is an overview of the how it can affect the industry, and we need to understand all these parameters to apply this technology to describe our process and even to try to improve it.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Edgar, for your article. It is really a very informative and interesting content about the importance of sustainability in the poultry industry. Now it's clear to me that sustainability is at the center stage of the media and professional gatherings worldwide. I appreciate your predisposition for the interview, as well as for having written this the article of this edition of the December 2023 magazine of aviNews International. This is the end of today's interview, and we will see each other in the next opportunity. Again, thank you very much, and have a nice day, Doctor.
Thank you. Appreciate it.